Heaven is a myth and Nepal is reality.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very good statement.
Yeah,
Thank you very
exactly.
much.
Exactly.
Can you please repeat it? Heaven is a myth.
Heaven is a myth and Nepal is a reality.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to ask you some question about, which is very related to Nepal.
Okay.
And there is one kind of controversy, or what we, let's say, fake rumor about the birthplace of Lord Buddha. And some people, or some of the testimonies have mentioned that the birthplace of Lord Buddha is somewhere else, not in Nepal. I don't want to pronounce that word.
Right.
Listen, I don't want to say this thing. Can't you do anything? Can't you take any action? Can't you support Nepal in this regard? So this is a kind of fake rumor. Fake rumor is being widespread all over the world. Can't PATA do anything?
Yeah.
Can't PATA support Nepal in this regard?
Look, the believers know where Lord Buddha was born. You don't have to worry about that. And the fact of the matter is that it's not only about the Lord Buddha, where you have, shall we call it, fake news. Basically, that's the consequence of social media. Social media is everywhere now.
There is no any doubt.
That's right.
Buddha was born in Nepal.
Yeah.
This is pride of not only Nepal, this is pride of whole Asia, then it's light of Asia.
Of course.
So why people are making this type of rumor?
Yeah.
Why people are this cheating the fake news?
Yeah.
Why this type of fake news is being widespread? So you also didn't keep the statement. Could you please speak?
Yeah.
Buddha was born in Nepal or not?
Well, from what I understand, from what I've read, and from the different work that we've done in the past, we've done some faith-based circuits and Buddhist circuits. We've worked together with the ADB in the past, and there's no question, as far as we were concerned, when we were doing that work, that the birthplace of Buddha was in Nepal.
This program is brought to you by. Hey, are you searching about the best educational consultancy for abroad study? No worry. Weekend Education and Visa Services. Siddharth Chowk, Pokhara. Contact 061 5788 12 573 093 98560 316 31 98560 716 71.
एउटै छानामुनि विभिन्न प्रकारका व्यवसायका लागि सटर बुकिङ खुल्ला गरिएको छ। युके सुपरमार्केट प्राइभेट लिमिटेड, पोखरा 18 सेदी। सम्पर्क नम्बर 9856 29 113।
आदरणीय दर्शकवृन्द, नमस्कार। पब्लिक 4K को डेली टक शो द भ्यूमा यहाँलाई हार्दिक स्वागत छ। म रघुनाथ वाग्ले। दर्शकवृन्द, कोरोना भाइरसले थिलो पारेको नेपालको पर्यटन क्षेत्र यति बेलाको समयमा बिस्तारै उकासिदो बाटोमा छ। नेपालको मात्रै नभएर विश्वको सबै देशको पर्यटन क्षेत्र कोरोना भाइरसको कारणले गर्दा थिलो बनेको थियो। एकजना मानिससँग अर्को मानिस डराउनु पर्ने, एकजनाले फेरेको साससँग अर्को मानिस डराउनु पर्ने त्यो खालको विकराल अवस्थाबाट बिस्तारै अगाडि बढ्दैछ, बिस्तारै उठ्दैछ पर्यटन क्षेत्र। यो टुरिज्म सेक्टरलाई अझै उकास्नका निम्ति, राम्रो बनाउनका निम्ति विश्वभरका विभिन्न आफ्नो यो पर्यटन क्षेत्रलाई मुख्य पेशा बनाउनु भएका नागरिकहरू यति बेलाको समयमा जुरमुराएर उठेको अवस्था पनि छ। पर्यटन क्षेत्र सुस्ताएको कारणले गर्दा सबैजसो देशको आर्थिक अवस्था पनि ओह्रालो गतिमा लागेको यो अवस्था सिर्जना भएको हामीले देखिरहेका छौँ। यही सन्दर्भमा पेसिफिक एसियन ट्राभल एसोसिएसन पाटाले पोखरामा यति बेलाको समयमा एनुअल समिट आयोजना गरेको छ र यसमा पर्यटन क्षेत्रको सम्भाव्यताको बारेमा छलफल पनि भएको छ। पेसिफिक एसिया रिजनका देशहरूमा पर्यटन प्रवर्धनका निम्ति के गर्न सकिन्छ भनेर यति बेलाको समयमा पोखरामा छलफल भइरहेको छ। विभिन्न देशबाट यसका जानकारहरू, अधिकारीहरू यस देशमा आउनुभएको छ र यसका सम्भाव्यताको खोजी र चर्चा भइरहेको छ। आज हामी पेसिफिक एसियन ट्राभल एसोसिएसनका चेयरम्यान पिटर सेमोनसँग पछिल्लो समयको यो एसियाको पर्यटन क्षेत्रको सम्भाव्यताको बारेमा छलफल गर्दैछौँ र यसमा नेपालका के सम्भावनाहरू छन् भन्ने विषयमा पनि संवाद गर्दैछौँ र पाटा कस्तो अर्गनाइजेसन हो, यसमा मेम्बरसिप लिनका लागि हामी के गर्न सक्छौँ भन्ने खालका विषयमा पनि उहाँसँग हामी संवाद गर्दैछौँ। Mr. Peter Semone, welcome to The View.
Thank you, Raghu. How are you, Raghu?
I'm good. What about you?
I'm okay. Very nice to be here in Pokhara. And
Are you tired?
No, I'm just happy to be here in Nepal. And last time I was in Nepal was 34 years ago, long time ago. So I'm very delighted to be here.
Okay.
Thank you, Raghu.
Let's begin the interview with the
Sure.
introduction of PATA.
Yeah.
As a chairperson of this organization, how do you introduce PATA?
Yeah, so PATA is a travel and tourism association that was founded in the early 1950s, originally in the Pacific, and it has grown to include Asia as well. And basically it's a public-private partnership sort of organization because we have government members and we have private sector members. And the objective of our organization is to advocate for tourism, such as sustainable tourism and the sustainable growth of tourism. And our association is also there for networking, to bring together industry so that they can market their products, and also work together with government to plan their tourism industries. So really everything within the Asia-Pacific region we try to support.
So one of the main goals of this organization, PATA, is to promote the responsible and sustainable development in tourism.
That's right.
Are you satisfied with this situation after, like, let's say, post-COVID?
Yeah.
So are you satisfied with the tourism sector of this Pacific Asian region?
Yeah. So for sure, you're right, Raghu, that COVID has been a huge challenge for travel and tourism. But I think it's also been an opportunity to reset and to think about maybe things that we've done that are good and maybe things where we haven't been as successful. Because in 2019, which I call 2019 BC, before COVID, we were struggling with a number of issues. The tourism was not sustainable in many ways, and there was a lot of negative impact on the environment. We had some carrying capacity issues, so there were too many tourists going to certain places, and so sustainability was becoming an issue. I think the COVID period gave us a chance to think. I also think it showed that if humans aren't moving around so much, the environment, actually the earth, Mother Earth, takes care of itself and cleans itself up. So I think it's a stark reminder that we need to improve. You know, I think there's two things. I think one thing is that everybody wants to maybe get back to business as usual, but is business as usual sustainable, or do we have to rethink a little bit how we develop tourism going forward and how we implement it? So I think there's a good opportunity, but it's an opportunity that if we don't change the way we do certain things, we will waste the opportunity as well.
Mr. Peter, so how the TDR, Tourism Destination Resilience, enhances the Sustainable Development Goal of UN. So as a chairperson of this organization, do you believe the status of these countries of Asia-Pacific region are moving towards the direction of SDG, which we know Sustainable Development Goal?
Yeah. Look, I think the SDGs were very ambitious. 2030 is not that far away. It's only 7 years away. We're not actually performing very well in a number of areas. I do think that the Sustainable Development Goals have some wonderful initiatives within them and some wonderful goals. Inclusivity, you know, basically looking to create livelihoods for people, looking after our natural environment. So, but it's a big challenge to implement those SDGs. COVID maybe gave us a bit of a pause, but I am afraid that we won't be able to successfully achieve all of the SDGs. And maybe that's because they were too ambitious, or maybe it was because getting people to change their behavior, you know, at the macro and micro level, maybe that takes a little bit longer than we initially expected.
They are ambitious because of the attack of COVID, or they are naturally ambitious?
I think they're naturally ambitious. When they were first set out back in whatever it was, 2010 or whatever it was, or even earlier than that, I think they were pretty ambitious. But time goes quickly, you know, and you have a lot of pressure. So you have population growth, you have a lot of people that are seeking economic growth, you have a lot of pressure on the environment. So it's kind of a perfect storm. There's all of these things, and then in the middle of all that, we have to sort of abide by the Sustainable Development Goals. So it's challenging. It's very challenging. And I think also the other thing, Raghu, is I'm not sure that everybody understands the Sustainable Development Goals. There's a bit of a gap in terms of people's actual awareness and understanding of the Sustainable Development Goals.
Okay. So how this organization, this PATA, supports SMEs, or let's say small and medium-sized enterprises? So you are conducting this annual summit, PATA annual summit here in Pokhara, and so many small and medium-sized enterprises or entrepreneurs are also here being participated and expecting some supports from PATA. So how do you support those enterprises?
Well, I think the first thing that's important to recognize is that 80% of all tourism businesses are actually what we would call small and medium-sized enterprises. So that's the bulk of the tourism industry. So PATA tries to help in a number of ways. First of all, the networking that comes as a result of it, being able to meet with your peers, learn good practice, learn good practice in terms of being a tour operator or a hotelier. The other thing that we do is that so for example, you'll see it's an annual summit and an adventure mart. And what it means with an adventure mart is that we have buyers and sellers. So what we do is we get the buyers that are the ones that will bring the tourists to the micro small enterprises, and so there's this opportunity for the buyers and the small and medium-sized enterprises to meet, to discuss what product offering they have, and to try to build their businesses.
So while conducting this summit here in Pokhara, and I have met some of the small enterprises as well, and they were very curious about being member of this PATA. Can you please tell me or tell to my audiences about the procedure of being being a member of PATA? Yeah,
thanks for that, Raghu. That's a good question. And so I think the first step is that we have a PATA Nepal chapter. So we have chapters in many different countries around the region. So a first step for maybe a small business that is in tourism, that maybe wants to make a network, is to first join the PATA chapter here in Nepal, which is headquartered in Kathmandu. That will give you an opportunity to network with your contemporaries from within Nepal, and to learn and be able to collaborate with them. Another thing that people can do if they're more internationally oriented is that they can join the association. It's quite easy to do. You can go to the website, which is www.pata.org. And on there's a full information in terms of both, how much it costs to be a member, how to apply to be a member, and also the member benefits that you get. But I would suggest for a lot of the small enterprises that you've been referring to, Raghu, the best first step would be to engage with the PATA Nepal chapter.
And due to the pandemic of global terrible coronavirus, one of the most adversely affected industry was tourism. And could you briefly explain what action you took to save from this crisis or combat with this crisis, not from coronavirus, from crisis?
No, so for sure, I mean, that's the biggest crisis that the tourism industry has experienced on a global scale. Places like Nepal, you've had crisis. It could be a natural disaster or some other thing. But this sort of global crisis created a huge challenge for the travel and tourism industry in Asia and the Pacific. And from one day to the next, we went from having lots of tourists to having no tourists. And all the operating expenses for all of the companies continued, and it was a great struggle. The biggest single challenge was always, how are we going to get customers to come back? And we're still even now, 2023, we're in early June, and we still haven't had a full recovery of tourism back to the 2019 before COVID BC era. So I think we, first of all, we had to be realistic. When is it safe to say, hey, tourists, come back to Nepal, come back to Asia Pacific, come back to the region, because there was fear and we didn't want to misguide people. But the next layer of problem was, once there was kind of an all clear, there's so many different countries that we represent within PATA. We have like 40 different national countries, and each of them had a different regulation for visitors to return to their country. So Nepal was one set of criteria that the visitor would have to fulfill. Maybe it was a PCR test, or maybe it was having, proof of COVID vaccination, or maybe it was quarantine at one point. And then it was different for India, and it was different for Bhutan, and it was different for Thailand. And so one of the things that we tried to do is, how do we gather the information from the countries, and then in a transparent way provide that information to the consumer? And we wanted to be seen as a reliable source of information. So we were working a lot with our government members within all the different countries, encouraging the tourism ministries to provide us with the most up-to-date information on COVID regulations. And then we published a weekly newsletter, which actually provided all of the information on, were countries open or not, how were they receiving tourists. So I think while there wasn't a lot that we could do on the ground, we ended up being a good communication tool, a platform through which countries could communicate, and then after that it could get out to the general public. And of course we have a lot of media that follow us as well, so we worked with the media to share the information that we had, again to build that confidence to bring the traveler back.
Nowadays, do you think those actions were empirical, those actions were scientific?
Yeah. No, I think those actions were quite practical. Were they scientific or not? I'm not sure. Lessons learned from COVID is good communication is important. The other thing is, how do we? It's very difficult to get all the countries to maybe have a common and consistent approach to a crisis. And I think that for COVID, the thing that now we think back and say, oh, COVID wasn't that bad, and what was the big deal? But when you're in the middle of a crisis, sometimes it's very difficult to see how you're going to get yourself out of that crisis. So given the complexity of the situation, given the scientific unsureness, should we say, of is it safe, is it not, the fear of death, and all of these other things, I think we probably as humans reacted as best as we could. And the problem, Rocco, is that for tourism, tourism is a unique export product, because tourism requires the buyer, the purchaser of the good, to come to pick up the product. So let's say in Nepal that you produce pens or something like that. These you can export, so the customer can be in America or Europe or Thailand, and the product will go there. But tourism is really unique and has a really unique challenge, because the customer has to come here, and that requires safety, that requires confidence in the destination, that requires good communication,
good hospitality.
Good hospitality, and so I think we did as good as we could do. Looking back on COVID, could we have done better? I'm not really sure. I think the more important thing is that we have to learn some lessons from COVID.
I want to ask you some question about, which is very related to Nepal.
Okay.
And there is one kind of controversy, or let's say fake rumor about the birthplace of Lord Buddha. And some people, or some of the testimonies have mentioned that the birthplace of Lord Buddha is somewhere else, not in Nepal. I don't want to pronounce that word.
Right.
I don't want to say this thing. Can't you do anything? Can't you take any action? Can't you support Nepal in this regard? So this is a kind of fake rumor. Fake rumor is being widespread all over the world. Can't PATA do anything?
Yeah.
Can't PATA support Nepal in this regard?
Look, the believers know where Lord Buddha was born. You don't have to worry about that. And the fact of the matter is that it's not only about the Lord Buddha, where you have, shall we call it, fake news. Basically, that's the consequence of social media. Social media is everywhere now. And you do have a lot of fake news. And it doesn't matter if it's Nepal, my own country, America, we have a tremendous amount of fake news. So I think that, what Nepal can do, what PATA can do in terms of collaborating with Nepal, is just to ensure that there's consistent messaging, authoritative messaging.
Mr. Peter, there is no any doubt. There is no any doubt.
Right.
So Buddha was born in Nepal.
Yeah.
This is pride of not only Nepal, this is pride of whole Asia, then is light of Asia.
Of course.
So why people are making this type of rumor?
Yeah.
Why people are this cheating the fake news?
Yeah.
Why this type of fake news is being widespread? So you also didn't keep the statement. Could you please speak? Buddha was born in Nepal or not?
Well, from what I understand, from what I've read, and from the different work that we've done in the past, we've done some faith-based circuits and Buddhist circuits. We've worked together with the ADB in the past, and there's no question, as far as we were concerned, when we were doing that work, that the birthplace of Buddha was in Nepal. So but how to battle social media? Why do people do that? I think people do it to find their own individual fame and fortune, and maybe to confuse people. But it's a two-way street. You see, nowadays the challenge is that readers also aren't doing. People are not reading in depth anymore, and as you suggested, they're not reading history books. But then on the same side, there's a lot of people out there that want to provoke and create new news. So I wish Nepal good luck with this, and I think you just have to keep reminding people. And I think it should be something that, for example, the Nepal Tourism Board, the Ministry of Tourism, can again focus on this circuit, because I think faith-based tourism is a really important segment. And I think I recently was working in Timor-Leste, which is a country in the far east of Indonesia, north of Australia, and it's a predominantly Catholic country. And what we did is that we brought together all of the faith-based leaders, the Catholic leaders, the Protestant leaders, the Hindu leaders, the Islamic leaders, the Muslim leaders, to work together to develop tourism and to look at the faith-based tourism product. So, one of the things that Nepal can do also is focus a little bit more. You have your adventure tourism, but maybe you also need to focus a bit on the faith-based tourism, and again reassert that product and get it out to the public, and then perhaps that debate can continue. But I think, to be honest with you, I think most people probably understand that where Buddha was
very diplomatic.
Most people know where Buddha
very
was
diplomatic.
born. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So now you are here in Nepal, and we're welcoming you. We are very proud of your presence as well. So our Himalayas, including 9 highest peaks all over the world, and beautiful. We have beautiful nature and amazing multiple cultures, diversity of cultures. So these all have proved that Nepal has the highest prospect in tourism. So in order to flourish it, what suggestion would you like to give to Nepal government from the behalf of PATA, and how can PATA assist Nepal to flourish the tourism?
Yeah. Well, I think the way PATA can help is that we're having this event here right now.
Yes.
And one of the reasons that we had this event, among many other reasons, was that you built your beautiful new airport in Pokhara, and then unfortunately in mid-January you had a sad incident where 72 souls were lost in an aviation accident. So I think PATA responded to the Nepal Tourism Board the need to maybe bring the tourism industry to Pokhara, to re-establish consumer confidence and industry confidence in the fact that Pokhara is all right. Look, a bunch of tourism professionals are going and having a conference. So I think that visually we wanted to support that. There's no doubt that Nepal has tremendous tourism assets and unique tourism assets that are nowhere else. And Nepal's been doing business for a long time in the tourism industry. I think the world of tourism is also extraordinarily competitive now. So you need to find the niches in there. You can't be all things to all people. So I think that being positioned as an adventure destination, beautiful Pokhara here as a mountain retreat, wellness kinds of tourism, as I said, faith-based tourism. And so I think that's important to make sure that you understand the product. And I think you have a great variety of product already, and you have a very active tourism industry. And then the second thing is, always think of tourism in terms of supply and demand. So supply, you have You have your natural assets, you have your built assets, and you have your human assets. For example, the Nepalese people are lovely and they're very friendly and they're very welcoming. Those are all of your supply side assets.
Okay.
But then you need to sort of look on the demand side. Where are you going to get your tourists from? You know, and you need to sort of identify those target source markets. Some of them should be, you know, one of the things in responding to crisis and responding to COVID is you need to look at source markets that are relatively close by. You know, you have your domestic tourism first, which has probably been running quite well during COVID. Then you have your regional tourism. In this case, the sub-regional would sort of be India. Obviously, is a big market, and I know that it's your biggest visitor market. But then, and I know maybe you'll be speaking to the minister of Nepal or of Maldives. But there's this idea of maybe trying to combine a travel experience for long-haul visitors that would maybe be beach and mountains in one visit. Because you have to remember, the further you go out in terms of source markets, if you go to America or to Europe, the Americans, Europeans, first of all, they have to fly. Then there's going to be jet lag. It's quite exhausting traveling. So it's very good to have nearby markets and further markets. But the long haul markets, they're also going to they're going to want to stay longer, and they're going to want to have a variety of experiences. So having that mix and match, and again, maybe even, you know, working with India and having a combination of that. I wouldn't be afraid to do that as well. But yeah, there's huge potential for Nepal. The mountains are beautiful. The people are delightful. Your infrastructure is. I think when the road between Kathmandu and Pokhara is finished, that will be a great advantage for you as well. But yeah, it's a unique place. I think I said this morning. What is it? Heaven is a myth. What was it? Heaven is a myth and Nepal is reality.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very good statement.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Exactly.
Can you please repeat it? Heaven is a myth.
Heaven is a myth and Nepal is a reality.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's conclude the interview with last question to you, Mr. Peter.
Sure.
So this PATA is the umbrella organization of this tourism industries of Pacific region of Asia.
Yeah.
But your origin of America.
Yeah.
So can I know about your presence in your participation in PATA?
Yeah.
So why Asia? Why are you Asia focused? You are American.
Yeah, well, so that it's a little bit of a more complicated answer than that, and that's because we have a 70-year plus history. So the PATA was first founded. It was first called the Pacific Area Travel Association back in the 1950s. Yes.
Yes.
And it was, what happened is that there were a number of Americans that, you know, there was World War II. And in the Pacific, there was a lot of fighting in the Pacific, you know, in terms of war. And one of the things that these American GIs wanted when they went back to America is they wanted to try to support the beautiful islands of the Pacific. So Tahiti, Fiji, all of these different places out in the Pacific Ocean. If you look at a map, all the little dots. And then we realized, probably in the early 70s, we said, well, we need to broaden this a bit more, because now Asia, remember, if you go back in the 1950s, Asia was a very impoverished part of the world. And there was no tourism. And then the realization was that, hey, Asia is starting to emerge. The economies are starting to grow. They're very appealing destinations. And a lot of variety within Asia. So we changed the name from Pacific Area Travel Association to Pacific Asia Travel Association. And now I would say, while we're still very strong in the Pacific, obviously Asia has boomed over the last 40 or 50 years. So you know, now we're very focused on that. But more and more you sort of see PATA, our organization, in the late 1990s, we moved from San Francisco, our headquarters, to Bangkok, Thailand, as our headquarters. And the majority of our staff now are Thai staff. They're very professional, they're very able. So our engagement with America is becoming less and less But we still want the American tourists to come to this part of the region. But more and more we see very much our home as being here in Asia and of course in the Pacific.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for this beautiful time. I know you were quite tired, you were quite busy
It's
in
been a long couple of days, and we have one more day tomorrow. But my pleasure.
Did you enjoy the interview?
Yeah, I did enjoy the interview. It was very nice, and you're a very charming young man. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for this beautiful time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
आदरणीय दर्शकवृन्द, यो थियो पेसिफिक एसियन ट्राभल एसोसिएसन पाटाका चेयरम्यान पिटर सेमनसँगको संवाद। हामीले नेपालको पर्यटन क्षेत्रको सम्भाव्यताको बारेमा र पाटाले पछिल्लो समयमा गरिरहेको गृह कार्यको बारेमा र यो पोस्ट कोभिड-19 को यो अट्याक पछाडि अहिले हामी बिस्तारै नर्मल सिचुएसनमा रिटर्न ब्याक हुने अवस्थामा छौं। यो अवस्थामा पर्यटनको के कस्तो सम्भावना छ, यसमा यो पेसिफिक एसियन ट्राभल एसोसिएसन, यो अम्ब्रेला अर्गनाइजेसन, छाता संगठन जुन छ, यसले के कस्तो भूमिका निर्वाह गर्दैछ, कस्तो भूमिका निर्वाह गरेको थियो र अब भविष्यमा कस्तो भूमिका निर्वाह गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने सन्दर्भमा उहाँसँग संवाद गर्यौं। आजको द भ्यू सकियो। म रघुनाथ वाग्ले लगायत सम्पूर्ण टिमलाई बिदा दिनुहोस्। तपाई पब्लिक 4K हेर्दै गर्नुहोस्। नमस्कार।
Hey, are you searching about the best educational consultancy for abroad study? No worry.
Weekend Education and Visa Services.
Siddharth Chowk, Pokhara.
Contact 061-5788-12-573-093
98560-31631 98560-71671।
एउटै छानामुनि विभिन्न प्रकारका व्यवसायका लागि सटर बुकिङ खुल्ला गरिएको छ। UK सुपरमार्केट प्राइभेट लिमिटेड, पोखरा 18 सेदी। सम्पर्क नम्बर 9856 29 113।